So I hope you were able to go through the three. I think I made three. One post introducing the what we are doing. That is Periya Puranam or Shiva Bhakta Vilasam. I'll be oscillating between reading from Shiva Bhakta Vilasam, which was the original composition of Upamanyu Muni, and Periya Puranam, which is composed by say Kirar in the 9th century, based on the data that we received from which was compiled by Sundaramurti Nayanar in form of a poem called Tirutondar Togai. And we saw how the Tirutondar Togai came about in the second Nayanmar posting, Viranminda Nayanar. And Viranminda Nayanar was instrumental in for us to get the names of all the 63 Nayanmars from Sundaramurti Nayanar because of his anger and because the Lord advised Sundaramurti Nayanar to compose, to appease Viranminda Nayanar, because of which he ended up composing. He wanted to convey to Viranminda Nayanar that Sundaramurti Nayanar is not, as his appearance may deceptively show, he is Adiyarku Adiyen. I am the devotee of the Lord. So he wanted to show his respect to all the devotees, and he ended up pronouncing each one of the 63 names and say, I am a devotee of this devotee. I am uh, Adiyark Adiye, which means I am a devotee. I am a slave of this devotee. I am a slave of this devotee, he declares, which appeases Virendra Nayanar because his life aim is only the serving of the devotees, even above his Lord. He's willing to go. He's shown in his life that he's even willing to go against the Lord. Even he is willing to pick up a fight with the Lord for the sake of devotees, for the love of devotees. This is an important concept in the tradition of in South Indian tradition, especially I should say in the Indian tradition. I can say because in the north we have Bhakta Vijayam and all that literatures of bhakti literature in Marathi, where we have seen saints like Tukaram, Chakkubai, Jnaneshwaran, many other Vittala, Namni, they are all such devotees of Vittal of Pandarpur. And they were, that bhakti was again the same type of bhakti. But in the South Indian bhakti, the devotion to the devotees is clearly has come out. The same concept holds good in Vaishnava tradition also. When the 12 Alvars, in all their composition, they always call themselves Adiyarka Adiyan, which means they are the slave of the devotee of the Lord. They consider Narayana as the Parampurul. Here in Saiva tradition, Shiva is considered as Parampurul, having that the element of bhakti or love is absolutely the same. There is no bit of difference in terms of the quality of bhakti or in terms of the nature of bhakti in both these Saivite and Vaishnava tradition. They're all the same. They're all one and the same. And in the ultimate culmination, it's all the same Parabrahma, from where, for our bhava, we have conceived a god called Shiva, and another sect has conceived a god called Vishnu, and yet another sect, whatever, Rama, Krishna, whatever, all these came about only from the Parabrahma. Initially, there was only the Parabrahma Sachitananda, and from that is a self, that is a Brahman that we all have been taught so much, saying that this self that we are talking about and the Parabrahman, they are one and the same. They are not any different. So only we have to realize that through practice. We are theoretically given that, and we are theoretically able to appreciate it also by means of doing various analysis. One of the prime analysis that we have been doing all through and will continue to also is the analysis of the three states of consciousness of waking, dream, and deep sleep, where it is clearly evident that we are the self. There is no absolutely there is no confusion in that regard. So we are doing it, and ultimately that self is the one that manifests as the world, that self is the one that manifests as God, that self is the one that manifests as Jiva, the various Jivatmas that we are able to, that we think is there currently at this point in time. Later on, we'll find out that everything is self, so everything is only Mayic creation. They are not actual creation. They are not concrete. They are just Mayic. We will understand that also as we progress. So, with that in mind, so in order to study and appreciate that uh, concept of self, we have started the study of who am I. That is Bhagavan's gracious presentation to the whole world, to all his devotees, not only to everyone who comes, who is able to consider this question, who am I, and who is able to read these passages of who am I as written by Bhagavan. It's blessed indeed, no doubt about it. And in order to really focus our mind and develop a keen interest towards this Vichara Marga, we need bhakti. They are inseparable. You need bhakti to bend, to get the bent of mind, which will be ready to do the sadhana, and you should know how to do the sadhana by means of Jnana Marga, by means of literatures like Who Am I, Ulladu Narpadu, Upadesa Undiyar, Upadesa Saram, as we have been seeing for a while now. So this is what this is our current status. So before we start our session today, anyone based on what we have studied now, either in the who am I or anything in general, can post a question if something is there. Then we can proceed with the next part of the who am I reading that we are doing. Arunachala. So we can proceed if this okay. Okay, so we can proceed. Is there anybody? Is there? Should we wait for somebody else to join? I got a message from Nagesh Garu that he's not joining today because of another occupation. So he has declared it. So anybody else has to join, or we can proceed otherwise.
We can proceed.
Vinaji, will you know if anybody else has to join?
Sir, actually, I don't know whether Venugaru is joining or not. So we'll continue, sir.
We will continue. We'll continue. Either way, we are making the recording available. So even if somebody misses something, it can be they can catch up. That should not be an issue. That's the intention with which we are serializing our Sunday sessions separately. I
Yes,
think,
sir.
yeah, he's come. Welcome, sir.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskaram.
Namaskar. Namaskaram.
Arunachal.
Namaskaram. Arunachalam. Arunachalam. So far we have after starting reading the Who Am I, we saw up to the nature of mind we were able to read. What is the nature of mind? The mind, we said, is a wondrous power residing in the self. And what are we aiming at? What is the aim of this entire exercise that we are trying to do in form of Who Am I? Is to get rid of the mind once and for all. And getting rid of the mind creates a lot of unwanted doubts in minds of a lot of people who say, how will life go on if I get rid of the mind? This is the primary question. Here, people like Bhagavan have demonstrated and have lived for a long number of years without a mind. There are many other people who have lived like that. How? Because they are, whatever they are doing, they are not being driven by the dictates of the mind. And this mind is totally mischievous. What this mind does is it will create circumstances according to how it wants. It won't accept what it is there. It won't go by as is. It will create to be. A to be scenario will always, mind will try to create. And that is the most important purpose because of which we are we are doing so many karmas in form of Agamiya karma. We have seen earlier in a session that Prarabdha karma is the best way to live the life, because the Prarabdha karma, till even an iota of I feeling is there, we keep working because it has to get exhausted. The moment Prarabdha is exhausted, this life is over and the body will take another one, obtain another another bag of Prarabdha karma, so to speak, from the Sanchita go down. So again, all these terminology, pardon me. Uh, and that is dispensed to us by Ishvara. Ishvara is the one who gives us the Prarabdha, the set of Prarabdhas or the bundle of Prarabdha for us to exhaust in each life. Because we have, it's not in our hand or our choice to say, this life I want to do all this. We can't say, this life I want to do all this, but that is not Prarabdha's working. That is creation of new karmas in form of Agamiya karma. Agamiya karma is the one that is done with the mind. I think I have to do it like this and do that and do that. That is Agamiya generation. Prarabdha karma is the one that we live the life without usage of mind, but whatever has to unfold will unfold beautifully according to what is there in store. So, this is the way that we will live once the mind is destroyed. There will be no issue in terms of the body going through its prarabdha. It'll go through till the end. It'll go through its prarabdha, but you won't use your mind to do any work. Everything, whatever prarabdha will have to do, it will do on its own accord. So this is how jnanis live. This is how people who are dead to the mind conduct their life. So there is nothing to fear about or worry. If my mind goes, my life goes. These are things that have been nurtured to us right from when we were young, when we were born. Ever since we start understanding, we go to school, even the primary kindergarten school, they they develop the habit of thinking in us. You should keep on thinking. Don't sit idle. Think about how it is, how is that, how is this. So we are that is needed for the sake of science or for the sake of education. But currently, at our station in life, that is not what we are driving. We have done whatever bit we have to do using that mind. We have all gone through our careers in a bit, or still going through, it doesn't matter. But still, we have understood whatever needs to be understood with the help of mind. So, that mind is not going to be of great value to us anymore, but it can be of tremendous negative, it can give tremendous negativity to us in the form of impelling us to scheme too many things. Whereas prarabdha karma, if you go by the way of prarabdha karma, you don't scheme anything because you are allowing whatever has come to be when I was born in this janma, when I took this janma, to go on its own accord without my volition, without my creating any new agami karma. So we have to understand that destruction of mind is an extremely beautiful state because we are going to be always in the bliss of Ananda that is derived from the Satchitananda Parabrahma, the Self. We are always going to be in Ananda. All of us we have seen are doing all the karmas that we are doing currently only for the sake of getting happiness. And that happiness we know is the inherent nature of self. So once we have reached that selfhood, what else is there? That happiness is available permanently to us from there on. So we don't need to do anything. So can there be a better state than that? Everything we are going to sit, we are going to watch, we are going to just enjoy the bliss of Parabrahma while things, whatever has to happen, will be happening without attaching to us. Because that I is gone, the karma, even if the prarabdha it appears to happen, it's not going to attach itself to anything because it has no I. All the karma we have seen, all the three karmas are only for the ego, the rising I. Now, when we have killed that rising I, these karmas will have no place to attach itself to. So the karma will just evaporate without forming the cloud. It just go somewhere. That's what. And after that, while this prarabdha is happening also, because of there is no one who takes ownership of the sanchit karma, it is also good. It is also destroyed right at that moment. Sanchita is gone, everything is gone. So the next janma, there is no next janma, because in the absence of prarabdha karma, there is janma. Why do we need the body? Initially, we took this body, even the current body, only to exhaust the impending prarabdha, the prarabdha of this life. So when the sanchita, from where the prarabdha is derived, becomes zero, there is no need for another body. This is what is the meaning of saying that once you realize yourself, then there is no more but, because there is no more need for a body, and no body can be taken in the absence of karma, and there is no karma. And taking all this body, again we have seen again and again, for the sake of clarification, or we have to understand, is only Mike. They are not true. They are all imagination. Whose imagination? Imagination of the rising eye. All these are thoughts. According to Bhagavan, your body is nothing but a thought. Your world is nothing but a thought. The gods that we pray to is nothing but a thought. How? Because of the absence of all these in deep sleep. When there are no thoughts, then there is no mind. And when there is no mind, the Sachitananda is what is left out. So with this analysis, we are able to see, and we also know what is truth is the one that should continue all through. There cannot be a gap. And only our self, the pristine pure I called Sachitananda, has the power to be available continuously without any gap. That is why it is said that for a self-realized, once self is realized by means of destruction of mind, there is no more need for a body, and so it is considered in the dualistic language as our last birth. So this is the purpose for which we are studying this Who Am I technique as taught by Bhagavan, to put it in practice. So the nature of mind has been discussed quite a bit, and the path for understanding the nature of mind is also, we also saw that whenever the mind rises, whenever the thought rises, don't go behind the thought, don't give any importance to the content of the thought, give importance only to the feeling of the thought. Understand a thought is rising, and put the question, to whom is the thought rising? And as we have seen, the answer would be to me. And why are we putting to whom is the thought is rising? The reason for asking to whom the thought is only to get the answer to me, thus focusing, facilitating us to focus on the feeling of I. It is only a prompt, as we saw earlier also. It is not a question asked to obtain an answer. It is a question put forth to divert our attention from externalities to the one that is shining forth. Currently, the one that is shining forth to us, to the best of our ability, we can only see the rising I, the feeling of I. But as we have seen, the feeling of I that we have and the pristine pure I are one and the same. They are non-different. So there is nothing, nobody has the strength or the equipment or the wherewithal to see the Sachitananda. And also it is erroneous to say you have to see the Sachitananda, not the rising I. Everything is same. So you see the rope, or you see the snake, whatever it is, you are seeing the rope only. Even you may think it is a snake, but ultimately it is the rope. Similarly, We are thinking that it is the rising I currently, but what we are seeing is only the pristine pure I. So it is enough, and it is only in our capacity, it is only possible for us to see the witness the rising I. Keep keen attention on that rising I, and because the rising I now has been deprived of the thought, which is its food, it is not going to survive, and our focus is keenly on the rope, on the snake kind of eye, on the snake equivalent eye, the rising eye, and slowly we are going to stop seeing the snake and start. Similarly, slowly we will stop seeing the rising eye, and we'll start seeing the Satchitananda, or rather than saying start seeing the Satchitananda, we will be Satchitananda. Because there is no one to see another. It is only being at that state. So we will arrive at that by means of putting this question, who am I? Repeatedly, constantly, whenever we have a semblance of a thought. Again, beware not to go behind the quality of the thought, behind the content of the thought. Only when you know there is a thought, to whom is this thought arising, is all we need to do. And alternatively, Bhagavan said, keep thinking I. Because what is the meaning of this? You don't even need to wait for a thought or put the question of to whom is this thought occurring. Bypass that and straight go to the feeling of I. How will you remember something in mind? By constantly thinking of it. Okay, I need to do some important work. Okay, somebody has told me to do something. In order not to forget that, I'll constantly keep it in mind. We have options of writing it down in a paper and other things, but still, let us assume there is nothing like that. All I will do is keep in my mind. Very frequently, I'll be thinking about it. Hey, what is that I should do? I should do this. So the remembrance is there. Similarly, keep thinking of the I constantly, with exclusion of every single other thought, is the same thing. It amounts to the same thing. By means of the question, who am I? We remind ourselves of I. Now, by repeatedly thinking of I, we are staying in that I thought. So Bhagavan has given two methods, both are one and the same. This is something we saw in elaboration, I think, in the last discussion. Same thing. The I, thinking of I constantly is our ultimate aim. For that, in order not to get distracted by thoughts, the question, who am I, is the most appropriate method. We have seen this. Now, only by inquiring, by this method of inquiry, the mind will become quiescent. And we also saw the example of stick that is used to stir the burning fire. And finally, dropping that stick. That stick here is the I thought. And finally, that I thought will give way for the pristine pure I to shine on its own. This again is something we saw in the last session. Now, and then what is the means of continuously holding on to the thought? We just now discussed in elaboration. When another thought rises, don't attempt to complete the thought, rather put the question, to who am I? To whom all these thoughts are arising, and shift your focus to the I. Now, this much we have seen. This is the core of the practice of who am I. I think there should not be, at this point in time in our journey towards self, journey, so to speak, towards self, we need to be so very clear about what we have discussed so far. Whatever is the nature of I, the nature of mind, the nature of the method of inquiry. If there is confusion at this stage, going to the next steps can be, sitting in practice is the next step, can be very difficult, or it cannot, you won't have sufficient strength or interest to put the question, who am I? So it is very important to correctly understand the concept that we have had up to now. Anyone has anything to discuss about this, or any kind of doubt, or need more clarity, I'm willing to dwell on this subject for a lot more time if there is a need before we go to the next part, the next question. So just have a quick 30 seconds silence and see if there is any question to be asked, and we'll take up. Otherwise, we'll proceed. Arunachalam. So we will proceed, and no, even as we go by, if there is anything, just raise your that hand button, or just post your question. It's all right. We can stop and we can address that. Not a problem. Anytime we can do that, because that is the core of Bhagavan's teaching, and we should be absolutely clear about that particular aspect of knowing the I. What is the method of knowing the doing the vichara? What to focus on? Not to use it as a mantra, not to expect any answer, not to feel the body at all. And there are a lot of commentaries have been translations have written, dive deep inside. Inside means immediately they construe the diving deeply is the body. So they try to focus somewhere in the body. I did that initially and a few years ago. Some time ago, I don't know till when, but I don't know, when you go inside means only the body is what is all that I know. So where to go inside? I will focus. I see something dark inside the body, or some, imagine again, minds play only. So diving inside the body, diving within, does not mean that going, having a focus inside the body. Diving inside means very simply to focus on the feeling of I. And as we have seen in Ekatma Panchakam, the I is not in the body is in the I. So there is no use focusing in the physiological body that we have, any part of the body, because it is taking us further. All this is second person, third person thought only, and our primary aim is to get rid of second and third person thought and focus on the second and third person thought, and focus on the first person singular pronoun called I. This much we have to bear in mind. Are there no other means of making the mind quiescence? Other than inquiry, there are no adequate means. If through other means it is sought to control the mind will appear to be controlled, but will again go forth. Through the control of breath also, mind will become quiescent, but it will be quiescent only so long as the breath remains controlled. And when the breath resumes, the mind also will again start moving and will wander as impelled by residual impressions. The source is the same for both mind and breath. Thought indeed is the nature of mind. The thought I is the first thought of the mind, and that is egoity. It is from that whence egoity originates, that breath also originates. Therefore, when the mind becomes quiescent, the breath is controlled, and when the breath is controlled, the mind becomes quiescent. But in deep sleep, although the mind becomes quiescent, the breath does not stop. This is because of the will of God, so that the body may be preserved and other people may not be under the impression that it is dead. In the state of waking and in samadhi, when the mind becomes quiescent, the breath is controlled. Breath is the gross form of mind. Till the time of death, the mind keeps breath in the body, and when the body dies, the mind takes the breath along with it. Therefore, the exercise of breath control is only an aid for rendering the mind quiescent. Mano nigrah. It is not, it will not destroy the mind. Mano nasa. Like the practice of breath control, meditation on the forms of God, repetition of mantras, restriction on food, etc., are but aids for mind to rendering the mind quiescent. Thought through meditation on the form of God and through repetition of mantras, the mind becomes one pointed. The mind will always be wandering, just as when a chain is given to an elephant to hold in its trunk, it will go along grasping the chain and nothing else. So, also, when mind is occupied with names and forms, it will grasp that alone. When the mind expands in the form of countless thoughts, each thought becomes weak. But as thoughts get resolved, the mind becomes one pointed and strong. For such a mind, self inquiry will become easy. Of all the restrictive rules that related to taking of sattvic food in moderate quantities is the best. By observing this rule, the sattvic quality of mind will increase, and that will be helpful to self inquiry. So, the consideration now is okay, fine. The Vichara Marga has been elaborated up till now. Is there any other method of controlling the mind, of making the mind quiescent, of obtaining Manonasa? Is the question. We have seen this in elaboration when we studied Upadesa Saram, that breath control is certainly a method, but breath control has its own utility. It cannot gain Manonasa. As we have seen, breath and mind rises from the same place. They have the same place of origin. So, if one is controlled, the other is also controlled. And we have also seen that mind is a subtle form of breath. Breath is the grosser one, because breath is something we are able to observe. In the sense, we are not able to see it with our physical eyes, but we are able to feel the movement of prana in and out. But mind is not like that. We are able to see the thoughts, but not something called mind. Mind is extremely subtle in that sense. So, breath is something we see, it is gross. Mind is something we don't see, it is a little subtler than the breath. But they are one and the same in the sense they have one and the same root. So, they either issue forth or get controlled in the same time. This rule is not applicable only during our deep sleep, where still the mind continues because the body has to be preserved. And this is Ishvara Niyati. We cannot explain, a lot of things are there which we should not try to explain. We should understand, rationalize it, and keep moving forward. You can't say why the breath is still continuing during the deep sleep. But for an inquisitive mind that asks that, even that is said only because we are still in the practice, we are still in the stage of a sadhaka. We are not yet, but for a jnani, there is no stage called deep sleep. There is no there is no more three avasthas for a jnani, for the one who has gotten rid of the mind. So, from his point of view, breath stopping at deep sleep is meaningless. So we will come to appreciate that. But for now, we'll have to have this as a working hypothesis and accept that sleep breath continues even during deep sleep, because we are undergoing that avastha every day, and that avastha is very important for us to uh, have some clarity on a lot of topics that we are trying to discuss. So for now, let us keep it that way, as written by Bhagavan in this in the answer to this. And we have also seen that if once, but let us say I'm still, for some reason, this vichara is eluding me. I'm not able to sit in vichara. I'm finding it difficult. So what should I do? Bhagavan says you can do your breath control. You can try to do pranayama as in whatever manner it is prescribed. You can try to do pranayama and try to control the mind. The breath first will the breath will be controlled, then the mind will also be controlled. This is definitely you can do, and you will go to a state after regular practice. You will go to a stage called mano laya, that is temporary suspension of the mind. You will achieve that state by means of this. This is also the state of samadhi. All lot of yogis due to their yogic power, and that yogic power can be something like pranayama, whatever it is, and go into the state of trance where they suspend their mind. The mind does not function at that time, but it is got its own lifespan. This laya has its own lifespan. In the case of breath control, the mind will be calm as long as the breath is controlled, meaning when till the breath control sadhana is going on, till we are in the practice of watching the breath going, come out, or doing all the prescribed yogic methods. While we are doing, the mind is in laya. The moment we stop, the mind will issue forth again, and according to our residual impressions, vasanas, it will start doing whatever it used to do. It'll start doing all its activities. All the monkey activities. The mind is always that is jumping from one thought to another. All that will happen naturally. So this is what Bhagavan has also told in one of the sloka in Upadesa Saram. Once you achieve the stage of Manolaya, it is good, because in the state of Manolaya, the thoughts are not there, and the moment you come out of this Manolaya, that is when you stop doing your pranayama, such exercises, the mind is going to issue forth. But if you are vigilant enough, before the mind expands, you have a gap, and if you can really inquire, who am I at that period, during that gap, you can straight achieve Manonasa. So, here Bhagavan has told this in the sloka. I think in Upadesa Saram. ஒடுக்க வழியை ஒடுங்கும் உளத்தை விடுக்கவே ஒடுக்க வழியை ஒடுங்கும் ஊழத்தை விடுக்கவே ஓர் வழி உந்தி பர வியும் அதன் ஊரு உந்தி பர. What does it mean? Is once you stop, vali means breath. Let us say you have controlled your breath, and because of that breath control, you are achieving the control of the mind. Mind is controlled now. Now, before the mind comes forth in full force, there is a pristine gap available for us to watch. And that is the time when we watch and we keenly observe to whom is this happening. The mind is content free at that time. Because we are trying in our vichara method, whenever thought arises, we are trying to ask to whom the thought arises and try to focus on the I. We are coming to the same point now, almost to the same point. Only thing is, we have to complete the exercise. One, we have dropped externalities by watching the mind. Now focus on the I. That is the only missing thing. Because we have seen, we are dropping the externalities every day during deep sleep, but we are doing it not consciously, we are doing it purely out of fatigue. Now, consciously, we are trying to achieve through breath control in the waking state. We are trying to suppress the mind by means of breath control or by method of who am I, trying to focus on the I. Now, let us say I am using this breath control technique only. And when the breath control, when that sadhana is over, before the mind could, like in full force, before the mind could issue forth with this question, To whom? That time the mind is ready. The eye is available very clearly because the contents are not yet developed on it. And Manonasha can be achieved. This is a technique taught by Bhagavan in the 14th sloka of Upadesa Saram. So it can be whoever has got more inclination towards a Raja Yoga Marga can follow this method. Nothing wrong about it. But only thing we'll have to understand is ultimately the who am I will have to come in place to destroy the mind once and for all. So what does it make us understand? That breath control can be considered as an aid to get a mind which is eligible for the vichara. This much we can benefit from the breath control. So all the things taught to us by elders, by shastras, by Vedas about all these pranayama techniques and other things are definitely useful because ஆன்றோர் வாக்கு பொய்க்காது, meaning the the words of people of wisdom will never go wrong. They are not here to give us some time pass for us to sit and do pranayama. Pranayama is done for this purpose. We have to understand. But a lot of people stop at the stage of pranayama. Even the lot of people who teach teach pranayama techniques, the method of yoga and everything, they all have their purpose. The method of the yoga, hatha yoga today has been completely taken very on the wrong direction than it was originally intended for. It was intended to ultimately achieve a mind control, but now for bodily comforts or bodily betterment, we are thinking this is the only purpose of yoga. The word yoga is totally wrongly used today. The hatha yoga means communion. Now, what is there is a communion happening in the current form of yoga. Everybody says, I'm going for yoga class today. I have yoga class. Tomorrow I'm joining a new yoga class and all that. But what is this? That is, they're talking about they are going to gym to do some exercise. In the same way, they are thinking this is another technique taught by another old guru based on some books by some old from old sutras like Patanjali's Yoga Sutra or whatever. And there is a master who is well versed in doing all this. He can take his leg and put around his neck and all that. And this is all they think yoga is. The word yoga is never understood in the right meaning. Especially today, it is going more and more in the opposite direction. The moment all schools have undertaken the teaching of yoga today, which is very, very good, appreciable concept. But what happens? Because of all this, there is only pressure on the parents. They have to get good yoga mat. All these children I've been seeing carrying a big roll of yoga mat, saying that, hey, this yoga mat, my uncle got from USA. And it's got Nike logo in it. So we are tarnishing the entire thing. We are only wrongly understanding. Similarly, this breath control practice, even if you go to a guru today, a lot of gurus, they will teach you how to do this kumbhakari, how to retain and all that. But you ask them, what is the purpose? You will have a long life. That is the purpose with which they are approaching. But the original yoga is not meant for that. You will have to come to a state of mind becoming, eligible for doing the vichara to get a quiescent mind without thought, and leap forward from that stage to the next position of manonasa, which is done only by turning the attention inward by means of the who am I taught by Bhagavan. This is the only way. It is so logical. The whole thing is so logical. Why we are not seeing it as logical is because we have never understood the purpose of all the action that we are doing. Like this yoga example we saw. All this is meant only for achieving the mano nigraha state, the quiescent of mind in form of mano nigraha. And once that mano nigraha is attained, don't stop. Leap forward. Spring towards manonasa. That is why Bhagavan has made it clear that other than who am I, there is no adequate means of achieving the self, of realizing the self. Similarly, there are other techniques also, like you can chant the name of the God, like we have seen, puja is there, japa is there. In the Bhakti Marga, people oriented towards Bhakti Marga, you can do a lot of puja, you can do japa, you can do dhyana, all that is there, thinking on the form of your God. And as we have seen, thinking on the form of a God is a very highly dualistic school, which is an aid, which is definitely an aid. Because when we are thinking about that God, we are going to only think about that God, and all the other thoughts we are dropping. And this love is going to next step mature into this bhakti in form of a love for a God by doing japa will slowly become, who is this God? That God is not another from me. We are tracing back. We are coming into the from Anya Bhakti, we are traveling towards Ananya Bhakti, that is going inside. What does it going inside mean? We have seen, we are considering God and me as same and not two different things. We are developing the Soham Bhavam here. I am He. We are come there. Still, who is that I am now? We are saying I am He. Leave that He. That He is not going to go anywhere. He is forever there. When we have to say Tatvamasi, Tat, that, Tvam, me, Asi, are. I am that. Okay? That is always there. Once I know that I am, once I resolve that I am is automatically going to become that. So there is no need to worry about that. I am Shiva means Shiva is there, I am there, and I have to know who I am. I don't need to bother about Shiva because Shiva knows to take care of himself. I don't need to do any meditation on behalf of Shiva. Shiva is always there. So I need to do that. I need to resolve the I am. So the culmination, this is where Bhagavan in small work, Upanishasaram, has given Bhakti, Jnana, they're all same. Ultimately, everything comes to that ekam. We should know, we should be clever enough to trace everything back there. Once we are able to achieve that, enough. There is nothing more we need to do. So, Bhagavan says, practice on the name of the God, practicing meditation on the form of the God, repeating the mantra, doing japa, and more importantly, he says, restriction of food. This is extraordinarily important. Bhagavan has given this in many, many places also. And Sivaprakash Pillai also in one of his composition called Ramana Padamalai has mentioned of all the restriction that is there, taking sattvic food in moderation is the most important for inquiry to make the mind, sattvic. This is extremely important. I mean, as important than your puja japa, because in order to obtain a quiescent mind, the mind has to be tamed, and for taming of the mind, it has to become sattvic, and to make it sattvic, the best method is to take sattvic food in moderate quantity. We all are trying to do that in number of ways, and what is that moderate quantity? It depends. No, there is no yardstick here. It's very difficult to say each one for each one. It can differ. But the thing is, take clean, good, food. Bhagavan has once, I think, somewhere given a little discussion, a little talk about this. What is meant by sattvic food? Greens, pulses, and all that were included, but all to a moderate extent. Moderate extent varies from person to person, and according to Sivaprakasam Pillai, while he was doing sadhana, he was completely convinced that one meal a day in the midday is enough. That is all he says is enough. That is all a sadhak needs. Because we are not laborers running here to take a big heavy load, emptying a truck full of content into another. All that we are not doing. Even if you have to do that, you can still do that with the required amount of food and the sattvic food. We don't need to necessarily run behind anything that is not sattvic in order to gain whatever, in order to gain the body strength or whatever. But our example revolves around the nature of sadhana and the life of a sadhaka. And in the life of a sadhaka, according to Sivaprakash Pillai, the body will definitely need one meal a day. Give that meal, one meal during the midday, it is enough for the body. And that is what is, according to him, the moderated food talked about by Bhagavan, the sattvic moderate food that is talked about. You don't necessarily to have go behind food in a big way. Or let us take the example of how it was done in Bhagavan's day in ashram, which is also followed even today. They take some idlis in the morning at around 7 o'clock, and then followed by a small lunch. I mean, the quality of the lunch or whatever could have undergone a lot of difference or change from Bhagavan's days to today because of changing requirements, because of people's want. People come from different walks of life, from different parts of the world, and in order to suit, certain improvisations have been made. Let's not go too much into that. That is a very highly political and dangerous subject for anyone to venture into. So we can. It's enough to say that at around 11:30 in the during, consider that as a lunchtime, and eat the amount of food that is needed, sattvic food, and eat, and then night as in the ashram by about 7:30, finish off everything, and that is enough. Not having a midday snack, having, with due apologies to all the doctors, I love to say that they say you have to split your meal into small meals into so many, and all that is maybe good. They have their own, reason to say that this will help you avoid diabetes and stuff like that. All that is fine. But if you have taken sadhana, you don't need to always think. The problem with all this is you have to plan too much towards your food. All the time you will be thinking, okay, now it is 4 o'clock. What food is best for me? Is this better? Is this rich in protein? Or where will I get calcium from? All that will come. Instead, the sattvic food of a vegetarian meal has got all the qualities in it, and that is enough for us to sit in vichara, to make the mind quiescent and sit in vichara, and either through or any one of the forms. And Bhagavan is very highly recommended this habit of taking moderate quantity sattvic food. So this is yet another aim. But I will eat moderate quantity sattvic food. Will I gain Will I get self-realization? No. These are all aids very clearly given by Bhagavan. Similarly, breath control, the mind control achieved through breath control, that and the hatha yoga that we do, whatever yoga is there are so many, and the puja that we do, the japa that we do, the dhyana that we do, the parobakaram that we do, all this is our aid to mind. Ultimately, no one can escape placing the question, who am I? Meaning knowing who you are by keen attention towards the rising eye, which is the only equipment that we have, which is the only capital that is permanently available to us. So that is the way by means of which all these other sadhanas can help us. So each one has their own predispositions, and any one of them can be adapted till you feel comfortable. Nothing wrong about it. Or as we saw the example of the teaching from of the example given by Sadhu Om Swami, you are learning cycling. Learn it right in the direction of your journey. Why go on the opposite side? Learn and come. So why go on the opposite side? I'll sit and do crores and crores of japa. I'll sit and do crores and crores of mantras. I'll chant. I'll do every day. I'll wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and chant the Gayatri mantra 1008 times. All that is nothing. All this we have seen have their own value, but as Sadhu Om Swami has put that example, why, even if it is difficult, even if we are able to do only for a small period of time, let me start my focus on I feeling, which is available right away to you. Everybody knows he is there. So let us focus on that I. Why go by Satkiti's route and then gain the mind strength and then turn it back? Right away, start your journey by focusing on the I. And people like Sadhu Om Swami vouchsafe that it is possible for everyone. Bhagavan otherwise would not have given this marga to everyone. He would have kept it a secret in his locker. Only when he sees somebody eligible, he'll open and he will give it and say, yeah, now you are eligible to do. Bhagavan never had any such contention. He opened everything to everyone, which means every one of us is ready right now to go the Vichara Marga, to travel the path of Vichara, and as advised by Sadhu Om Swami, let us, whether we are struggling, whether we think we are eligible or not, let us practice. And Bhagavan says, repeated practice is the only thing that is necessary. So, let us keep practicing. Let us not bother about the end result. Let's keep doing our duty of sitting in Vichara and trying to focus our attention on the feeling of I. Thoughts will come, thousands, in thousands, as we have seen. It will definitely surface. Let it surface. Bhagavan has given, on the other hand, he has given us a wand called Who Am I? So thought comes, I'll make use of my wand and I will address the thought and I will say, Who am I? And try to not complete the thought and turn my attention. All this is possible. So let us straight away go there. But if for some reason you feel like doing pranayama, you feel like doing your japa, you feel like doing whatever puja, worship, or you feel like going to the temple and cleaning the temple every day, all this is fine, no problem. But the marga is open. Bhagavan is given an open direction. It is given as a word of caution that this is not culmination. All the other things are only aids. So let us bear that in mind. And then the residual impressions on objects appear wending like waves of ocean. When will all of them get destroyed? See, this is the question. When thoughts arises, as the meditation on self rises higher and higher, the thoughts will get destroyed. So, consistency in our practice is extremely important. We will have to keep on continuing the meditation on self. And as we have seen earlier in one of the in the first Mankala sloka of Ulladu Narpadu, the only Ulladu Narpadu session we had, in that he said, what is meant by meditating on something that cannot be meditated upon? Being as the self. So, being as the self, in our case here, currently means focusing on the feeling of I. Automatically, we'll be in self once we start doing it. So, Bhagavan says, there are plenty of residual impressions and they will be addressed. All the thoughts will get destroyed by meditation, when the meditation on the self rises higher and higher. Is it possible for the residual impressions of object that come from beginningless time, as it were, to be resolved and for one to remain in the pure self? Bhagavan says, without yielding to the doubt, is it possible or not? One should persistently hold on to the meditation on the self. Even if one be a great sinner, one should not worry and weep. Oh, I am a sinner. How can I be saved? One should completely renounce the thought, I am a sinner, and concentrate keenly on the meditation of the self. Then one would surely succeed. There are no two minds, one good mind and the other evil mind. The mind is only one. It is the residual impressions that are of two kinds, auspicious and inauspicious. When the mind is under the influence of auspicious impressions, it is called good. And when it is under the influence of inauspicious impressions, it is regarded as evil. The mind should not be allowed to wander towards worldly objects and what concerns other people. However bad other people may be, one should bear no hatred for them. Both desire and hatred should be eschewed. All that one gives to others, one gives to one's own self. If this truth is understood, who will not give to others? When one's self arises, all arises. When one's self becomes quiescent, all becomes quiescent. To the extent we behave with humility, to that extent there will be good results. If the mind is rendered quiescent, one may live anywhere. So, the driving point of this thing is the doubt, the fundamental doubt, will I be able to achieve this? Is a very, very big, what do you call, a force that keeps us away from our sadhana. We should not yield to the question, is it possible or not? For two reasons. One, we will go into an analysis of whether it is possible or whether it is not, and all that, and the mind will immediately stray and start concocting. It will start creating its own theories and philosophies. It will say these vasanas are there for countless. From they say all this is there, all thoughts are there from beginningless in time. Whatever is there for millions of years, how can I, get rid of that in this one janma? Will it be possible? All this doubt comes to scholarly people more. At least a person without much all this background, without these baggages, when Bhagavan say do it, he will simply do it. So these people who have all this knowledge are very, very strongly. This knowledge is going to come very strongly in their path of inquiry. And they'll start asking all questions like, is it possible? It's coming from millions of years, from beginningless, it's anadi. How can an anantam be achieved? How can an anantam be achieved correctly? It is going to remain anantam. It's all their way of thinking. And they will ask all these questions. Bhagavan clearly says, don't give room for all that. Is it possible? Is it not? For us, Bhagavan has asked us to do. Where is our problem? Is Bhagavan going to say anything to anyone like us that is not possible? Is he going to? Is he wasting our time? Is he enjoying by seeing us suffer? That is not our Bhagavan. That is not any Bhagavan. For whatever Bhagavan we perceive of any guru, the right guru is only going to give the right marga. That is why they say you have to treat the guru as divine. Without considering the guru as divine, this is one of the points given by Sage Upamanyu in the introduction of this 63 9-mar life. One narration was, we have to consider the guru as divine. Only then we can progress. Otherwise, if we think that guru as the one with a samanya body like us, we cannot go anywhere. So, when such a divine guru says, do vichara, the doubt of is it possible or not is unwarranted. And it is like not respecting the guru. You can even say that, I mean, you can put just to give the power of guru, the word is being used. So, let us not have that. Bhagavan says, even if you are a sinner, a big time sinner, the thought, oh, I'm a sinner, is not going to help. You have to forget, renounce the thought, I am a sinner. Because the sinning, this act of sin and the thought of sin, they are all ultimately only thoughts. Because the beauty of the marga is to make one understand that whatever we think we are doing, I am doing good, I am doing bad, all this is state of mind. All this is in mind only, because it's only after the issuing forth of this mind, all this is being done. And mind itself is Maya. Mind is a wondrous power that resides in the self we have seen. And that wondrous power is nothing but Maya. So this mind is nothing but Maya. So whatever we are doing, whatever acts we are doing, good or bad, both are the same. They are acts, nothing other than that. So nobody needs to really sit and worry, I am a sinner, I have sinned so much. No. Transcend that state of sin. How will you transcend? Transcending the mind will take you to that state. So there is no use in sitting and weeping about saying, oh, I have sinned and sinner. Bhagavan clearly says this is of no use. That this is one, this Advaita sometimes can act like a double-edged sword. Now, all these people with little bit of knowledge of Advaita say, no, the sin is not done by me. It is done by something else. I am not doing it. Why should I be bothered? And they indulge in a lot of wrong practices, in harming people under the wrong understanding of I am not doing. One thing we have to be absolutely clear here is the karma theory. If anything, if you are, let us say you are doing a harm, let us say you want to defraud somebody of a lot of money, you will scheme, you will put your mind to use and do that bad job. And if you do that, you cannot take refuge under the prarabdha, because you are doing it with your mind and you are scheming, doing, and it becomes an agamiya karma, and you will have to reap the riches of the karma. You cannot escape. So, catching hold of a lot of people have done that, or at least for the sake of argument, put forth, no, what is wrong if I do that? I'm not doing anyway. Ultimately, Bhagavan has told, I am not doing. Bhagavan has written in Who Am I? Even if you are a sinner, don't think you are a sinner. You have to understand everything in the right perspective. Bhagavan's teaching has to be really taken in the right way. You cannot take Advaita for your own petty gains or advantages and escape under the cover of Advaita. Advaita says there is only one, and only for the one who has reached that state. All other people will have to bear in mind that they are still in duality. But here, in order to give up thoughts, this I am a sinner is just another thought. So, if you have sinned, okay, you have done that. You will definitely pay for it, definitely in form of in form of your agamiya karma getting installed, sanchita karma coming to you in form of prarabdha karma. All that will happen. But what you should do, what is the salvation? What is the way out of this complex situation? Knowingly or unknowingly, I've gotten myself into. The only thing is, don't think you are sinner, because thinking you are sinner is just another thought. What use is the thought? Our idea is to transcend the thought and go back. This is the aim, or this is the spirit with which it is said. Don't think you are a sinner. Never to encourage somebody not to repent for the wrong things that they have done. You have to go to Bhagavan and cry to Bhagavan. This is extremely important. This all gives the strength of mind. When you are surrendering of this state, Manikavachakara says, Aludal unnai peralame. I know, Nane poi, en nenjum poi. Anal vinayen aludal unnai peralame. I know, Nane poi, en nenjum poi. I am false. My mind is total false. With all this still prevailing, I can reach you, Shiva, if I shed copious tears at your feet. And Bhagavan has highlighted this exact sloka when he was giving an advice to some visitor. When there was a Western lady who used to come always and sit in front of Bhagavan and cry all the time, shedding tears. And when somebody pointed at this to Bhagavan, God said, why? It's very good. That way you have to melt towards your Sadguru. You have to melt in love. Why is she doing that? Because of the love that she has for the Sadguru. And he quoted Manikavachaka's Vachakam. Nane poi, en nenjum poi, en anbum poi. Everything is false. But only crying towards my Bhagavan is going to take me there. So you can't use Advaita to your advantage and keep doing all this, like all such deeds done by people of today, especially in various political situations and other things. We have seen that, and they have no repentance for what they are doing. accept it, something wrong. One advice is don't keep harping on it. Don't go keep going behind it. Quit that. See for who has done that and put all the bharam, put all the weight on me. This is something we'll have to be very careful. A lot of people have fallen prey to this, especially the so-called Vedantins of today, Advaita, especially in the Western world, they have taken one form of Advaita called Neo-Advaita, and they all come and they all meet together in a cozy place, have their own cushy time, and tell everybody, what's wrong? I'm not doing anything. You are not there. I'm not there. Everything is Maya. They will exchange telephone numbers and go at the end of the meeting. And they'll assemble again and go about having their own this, that. But they think they have understood the spirit of Advaita. They think of everything, they believe in Advaita, but they are not able to put it in proper way, structured way to practice. They consider everything as Maya, but what is the use in saying it is Mike? It is not there. But you are using every one of that Mike substance. You say there is no, everything is, the whole world is Maya, but you use the whole world, all the wealth and all the substances available in the whole world to the end. You use the best cars to come for the same satsang that you are attending, and you will say everything is Maya. That is Neo Advaita. That is lot of such things are going on today. But the spirit of Advaita will have to be understood is only to do Anonasa and nothing else, and not to participate in the world of today by claiming everything is Maya. It's never the spirit of Advaita, and it will definitely take you to the ultimate doom if we are practicing such Advaita. So this Advaita is a double-edged sword. You have to be careful in handling it, but it is extremely powerful. That much you have to have in mind. So Bhagavan has given an alternate method, all the alternate methods, and have also given clearly that you have to somehow come to who am I. And also he has mentioned clearly that don't harp upon any thought, don't have desire, don't have hatred towards anyone. All this should be shunned because everything ultimately is a thought. Both desire and hatred should be eschewed. All that one gives to another, one gives to himself. So once you have realized that, once you have clearly understood that, I won't keep everything like a selfish man within me, for me. Whatever I have, I'll share. All this will come. All this is encouraged. Everything, all this has to be done without the notion of I, which has been again and again mentioned everywhere. The amount of humility we have, to the extent the result will be good. Which means the aham bhavam, the feeling of I should be given. Ultimately, you take everything to the end threadbare, it will go there to the final point of I. The culprit is only that I. So, how is humility going to be derived? How are we going to become humble? By not considering ourselves as this body, by not raising as I. Ultimately, that is the best way to achieve humility. In gradation of today's life, I'll say he is equal, I am equal. All that is fine. But ultimately, we should go there. If the mind is quiet, one can live anywhere. One does not have to be in any particular place. One can be in the most roughest, violent, most place. Still, if he is able to manage to keep a quiet mind, everything is quiet. And he can live anywhere. Because the core is everything is thought, everything is an extension of the I thought, and mind is nothing but that I thought. And if mind is controlled, if mind is rendered quiescent, one can live anywhere. It's a conclusion of the 14th question. So, one more point we'll see, and before we close today's session, the 15th question: how long should inquiry be practiced? As long as there are impressions of objects in mind, so long the inquiry, who am I, is required. As thoughts arise, they should be destroyed then and there in the very place of origin through inquiry. If one resorts to contemplation of the self unintermittently until the self is gained. That alone would do. As long as there are enemies within the fortress, they will continue to sally forth. If they are destroyed as they emerge, the fortress will fall in our hands. So the question was, how long should I keep practicing? Who am I? The answer for that is till all thoughts are destroyed, till all impressions are vasanas that we carry for from birth to birth to birth to birth, we carry the impressions in form of latent impressions, vasanas. So till all the vasanas, once and vasana, but mind actually issues forth only for the sake of these vasanas that have been accumulated. So when the vasanas are destroyed, mind is destroyed. Mind is not going to issue forth. So how will you get rid of these vasanas? Only by the question, who am I, and focusing on I. So till all the vasanas go off, till no thoughts come to you, the question, who am I, has to be continued, has to be pursued. And like complete uninterrupted contemplation of the self is enough to gain the self. That is, uninterrupted concentration on the self in our case means, as we saw, the feeling of the rising I, the first thought called I. Uninterrupted focus, staying focused as much as we can on the rising I will ensure the self is gained. And Bhagavan says here as an analogy, if you want to capture a fortress, there are going to be a lot of enemies coming out of the fortress. And as and when you see them, start beheading them, you start destroying them, and ultimately, when the last one is gone, the fortress is yours. Similarly, when all the thought comes, with the help of the question, who am I, destroy all the thought before they flourish, before they gain potence, before they become strong, destroy them at the very place of origin through inquiry. Once we do this, the fortress called Satchit Ananda is ours. So, Bhagavan here mentions that practice is needed till all the latent impressions, all the vasanas are destroyed. So, further on, there are more questions about the nature of self, about the nature of work, about the nature of God. We will take it up in our next session. We can conclude today's session by means of, as usual, posting the question. Should anyone have anything, can ask. Arunachala.
Arunachala Vasuji.
Arunachala.
Today's session is very, very, very practical and useful one. Especially desires should be separate. Means to eliminate that we have to practice. Right now I have a desire that I want to do japa. Okay. So how do I take that? Means right now what's happening with me is in the last session I told you, okay, I haven't learned anything, so I need not do any unlearning. I can proceed in this. This whole week, what's happening with me is I'm coming with some things, okay. Either I can call them as obligations, means to the most attached people where I have to oblige, means there is no force from them or nothing or the other, like okay, I have to do something, okay. So if I am going that way, again I am spending, okay, my thought, my mind, my time, my energy, and everything. Actually, I wanted to attend Bhagavad Gita session and all the other things, okay, 1 year back, but I could not do because I had to discontinue. Now again, they called me, okay, if you have time, you please That's very humble request from them. Means it's not those people responsible, but now I'm going through such a state this 1 week. Okay, what shall I do? I want to go this way and this path. Again, these things are coming to me. I'm not able to say no strongly because they'll be hurt. But if I again go to that way, again my mind will already, it is not in place. Mind is okay. Again, I'll be parting the ways, going as you said, in the opposite direction. I'll be traveling. Okay, even though it is difficult, I have to travel in the same direction. So, how to, means what I should decide for myself itself is becoming difficult for me. As you said, I
No,
should.
here you have to, let us say your situation. You are not going necessarily in the opposite direction. Let us say they have called you to study Bhagavad Gita, which is which is nothing, which is only an aid. It's only going to take you in the right. See, the example, every example that we study will have to be taken to the extent needed only. Like, for example, you study the slokas in Bhagavad Gita, but oh, you can stay in the self. You can stay with the focus of I. So you're not going in any wrong way. Opposite path is totally incompatible ways. If you do for gaining a result, then it becomes, whereas Bhagavan has recommended Bhagavad Gita very highly. So one can definitely study Bhagavad Gita. If if you want to read Bhagavad Gita, the 42 songs selected by Bhagavan is enough. But because somebody is organizing an elaborate study of Bhagavad Gita, nothing wrong in knowing Bhagavad Gita is full of wisdom. Bhagavan is told that in many occasions, and when people asked Bhagavan first to condense Bhagavad Gita and give them, he said, no, no, the entire Bhagavad Gita is full of wisdom, study the whole thing. Then, when people asked, no, Bhagavan, I don't have time to read all the 700 slokas every day, then they persuaded him to make a selection and give 42 songs. And on top of it, there was one person who said, no, Bhagavan, I want one song. I want you to pick one from out of the 42. That also Bhagavan obliged. But Bhagavan's recommendation towards studying Bhagavad Gita is very high. So studying Bhagavad Gita is not the problem. The problem is leaving the I. You can study that and still post the question, who is studying this Bhagavad Gita? So these two are not very incompatible in that sense. But only thing you have to be careful about any new studies that you undertake is that it will all lead to scholarly thought of mind. It will all, oh, I have studied Bhagavad Gita. Now I am a master of Bhagavad Gita and all that. If that is not there, there is no danger in studying anything like that. You are not completely going. Bhagavad Gita is full of Advaitic essence. So, absolutely, one can study that Bhagavad Gita. That need not necessarily be compared to the example given by Sadhu Swami in going in the opposite direction. Bhagavad Gita takes you in the right direction only. But if you leave as to who, that question, who should not be left. That if you leave that, and then through Bhagavad Gita studies alone, I want to come to that I, that is not possible. Similarly, you are doing pranayama, do pranayama, but have the vichara up. But if you are doing pranayama for the sake of getting to the I or eliminating that I, that is not going to happen. This is what is meant by going in the wrong opposite direction. That is, while you are studying Bhagavad Gita, study Bhagavad Gita very well, along with the practice of vichara. Then you are not on the wrong direction. You are only taking an aid from Bhagavad Gita studies. Again, don't go too scholarly into there are so many commentaries, sub-commentaries, and all that, and take everything to the extent that is needed for you, and then nothing will be a problem. Keep the tempo of vichara high always. That one thing, if you are able to do, it means that you are not in the opposite direction at all. But I will only study Bhagavad Gita by heart, all the slokas, know the commentary of everything, and that will help me to achieve Sayujya? No, it will not. So when you do parallelly, you can do nothing. You're not going to hurt. I mean, hurting somebody and other thing is extremely very difficult for a third person to answer because you know the situation much better than anyone else. So you have to be the judge, how to take the call there. But do the action. That's not studying Bhagavad Gita. It's welcome along with Vichara. Vichara need not stop. Why should your study of Bhagavad Gita take you away from Vichara? No, it won't. Will in fact it'll add. You'll get new impetus by going through, especially the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's definitely going to be very useful. And as you journey, till you journey, you go study Bhagavad Gita. Most definitely important. Welcome and don't give up the vichara. Keep the vichara. That is the only thing that we need to do, whether or not we study Bhagavad Gita. But studying Bhagavad Gita was very strongly recommended by Bhagavan when people have asked the question. And again, whenever we see any example, we'll have to be absolutely careful to use that example to, it's got a very, all these analogies, examples, all these have very narrow, for only to drive a particular point only it is given. So you cannot you cannot completely, like can we ever compare 100% the rope, the snake appearing on the rope to the eye appearing on the Parabrahma? It is only to take you in that direction, the example is given. Similarly, this example. So, by all means, study Bhagavad Gita. Don't go too right to the extent you want. Read, enjoy Bhagavad Gita, and follow the practice of keep the Huama Vichara always up. That is enough. If that will be the answer to your question.
Thank you so much, Vasuji. It helped me a lot. Okay, the dilemma what I am going through. Thank you so much.
Arunachala.